Imagine this. You spend your life trying to control everything around you, people, situations, even the future, but deep down, you can barely control your own impulses. Have you ever stopped to think about this? You want to dominate the world, but you can't even control your own mind when you feel anger, anxiety, or laziness. And this is precisely where true Stoic wisdom lies. It's not about conquering kingdoms, riches, or applause, but about building the most difficult empire of all, the empire over yourself. And I know this phrase may hurt, it may even poke where you don't want it, but it's precisely this that opens your eyes. Because if you can't command yourself, everything you try to control outside becomes nothing more than an illusion. True power lies not in shouting orders at others, but in silencing the chaos within you. So, tell me, how much have you fought against your own desires? How much have you sabotaged yourself because you couldn't control an impulse or because you let laziness dictate the rules? If this has ever happened to you, comment below with the word control, because this video is for those who recognize that the greatest battle isn't out there, but within. And don't think I'm here to lecture you. Quite the opposite. I'm here to break the ice with you, speak as equals, and show you that no one is born with self-control, but everyone can develop this skill. And this is where the provocation begins. Do you really think you're living freely when you're a prisoner of your feelings? True freedom isn't about doing whatever you want, but about not being a slave to anything. And this is the first key Stoicism gives us. A trained mind is more powerful than any army. But to understand this, you need to be willing to face discomfort. You need to face the idea of looking in the mirror and admitting that you don't have control over yourself yet. Because when you accept this, you truly begin to walk the path of strength, clarity, and true power. So stay with me until the end of this video, because here we won't talk about fancy phrases thrown to the wind, but about a real transformation that begins with the simple act of recognizing where your weakness lies. And believe me, we all have one. So comment control here to show that you have the courage to face your internal struggle. After all, if you don't control yourself, you're just a piece on the board of life, not the player. Have you ever realized that almost everything that happens in your life is beyond your control? Think about it. You don't control the traffic. You don't control the way people talk to you. You don't control the weather. You don't even control the small injustices that pop up out of nowhere in your day. But what you do control, and this is the essence of the first Stoic lesson, is how you react to all of this. And herein lies the key to transforming your life, because the world will always throw rocks in your path, will always create situations that irritate you, frustrate you, and test your patience. But you hold in your hands the power to decide whether to transform these rocks into walls that hold you back or steps that elevate you. This is the difference between being a slave to circumstances and being your own master. And I want you to think now, how many times have you ruined your entire day because you let a small detail get under your skin? A rude comment, a long line, a mistake that could have been corrected calmly. If you've ever experienced this, comment the word reaction down here, because this simple act already shows that you are beginning to become aware of the battle that really matters. It is not against the facts, but against the way you choose to respond to them. Stoicism teaches us that suffering comes not from what happens, but from our interpretation of it. In other words, it's not the rain that ruins your day, it's how you react to it. It's not criticism from others that destroys your peace, it's the value you choose to give that criticism. This means that every time you lose control over something small, you're handing over the steering wheel of your life to external factors that don't deserve that power. And here's the kicker. If you're unable to control your reactions, then you're allowing anyone, any situation, to have more power over you than you do. And I'll tell you a hard but liberating truth. You can't stop the world from provoking you, but you can stop the world from controlling you through those provocations. When you master your reactions, you become untouchable. Nothing and no one can steal your peace because it's not in the hands of others, it's in yours. That's what makes a Stoic different. He doesn't delude himself into thinking he can control the universe. He accepts that the storm will come, but decides to dance in the rain without losing his balance. And once again, I want you to participate. Write the word in the comments. Reaction: if you've ever fallen into the trap of giving up your happiness for something silly, recognizing this is the first step to change. Now imagine the impact of this applied to your daily life. How many relationships would have been saved if you had mastered your emotions instead of reacting in the heat of the moment? How many opportunities would you have seized if you hadn't let frustration or fear decide for you? How many precious days have you wasted simply because you chose to carry a useless resentment? The Stoic understands that every reaction is a choice, and every choice shapes your destiny. It's no exaggeration to say that mastering your reactions is mastering the course of your life. From now on, every time you feel the urge to explode, complain, or despair, remember this phrase: you don't control what happens, but you do control what you do with what happens. This phrase has power if you truly live by it. So, I challenge you. The next time something irritates you, stop and breathe. Ask yourself, is this worth giving my power away? If the answer is no, smile and move on. And if you accept this challenge, comment the word reaction down here. Because I want to see who really has the courage to make this commitment to their own mind. After all, this isn't just a philosophical lesson. It's a lifestyle that can completely transform the way you see the world. If there's an invisible prison that keeps thousands of people chained, it's called uncontrolled desire. Every time you feel like you need something to be happy, more money, more status, more likes, more immediate pleasure, you're giving up your freedom in exchange for a chain. It sounds harsh, but it's the pure truth. Those who don't control their desires become slaves to pleasure, and a slave is never free. Stoic philosophy teaches us that true freedom isn't about getting everything we want, but about not depending on anything to maintain our peace. Think about it. How many times have you felt enslaved by an addiction, by a desire you couldn't control, by a need for approval that made you act against your own values? This is the kind of slavery no one sees from the outside, but which corrodes from within. And if you've ever felt the weight of this in your own life, comment below. Freedom. Because just by recognizing that this is a real enemy, you already begin to take the first steps towards defeating it. Desire is treacherous because it always seems innocent at first. It's just another candy, just another video, just another minute of pleasure. But when you realize it's not you who controls the desire, it's the desire that controls you. And here's the point. The Stoics hammer home. Every desire you don't control has the power to transform into a tyrant that robs you of discipline, your clarity, and even your dignity. The problem isn't pleasure itself. We all like to feel good. The problem is when that pleasure becomes a mandatory condition for feeling good, because at that moment, you're no longer free. You become hostage to external stimuli that will never fully satisfy you. It's like drinking salt water. The more you drink, the thirstier you get. And that's precisely why the great sages of antiquity trained in detachment, not as an act of suffering, but as an act of power. They knew that the less you need, the stronger you are. So, I want you to reflect. What dominates you today without you realizing it? Your cell phone? Food? The need for recognition? Write the word in the comments, freedom, if you understand that mastering yourself is true power, because this recognition is the beginning of your liberation. Now imagine what your life would be like if you could truly let go of what enslaves you. Imagine waking up without needing the approval of others to feel good. Imagine looking at a temptation and realizing you can choose instead of being automatically swept away by it. This is Stoic freedom. It's not living without desires, but it's never being ruled by them. When you reach this state, you discover an inner strength that no circumstance can steal. You can lose money, you can lose status, you can even lose some things you enjoy, but you never lose yourself. And that's what makes the difference between those who live chasing pleasure and those who live guided by purpose. Desires are infinite, but your energy is not. The more you spend chasing things that will never fulfill you, the further you move away from what truly matters. Therefore, the lesson is clear. Rule your desires, or they will rule you. And if you want to make this commitment to free yourself from the invisible slavery that the modern world places before us every day, comment on the word freedom down here. Because true freedom isn't about doing whatever you want. It's about having the power to not be a slave to anything. Have you ever noticed that most people live waiting for motivation to appear? They say, when I'm excited, I'll start training. When I feel like it, I'll start studying. When I feel inspired, I'll pursue my goals. But the truth is, those who live waiting for motivation will die waiting because it is unstable, fragile, and fleeting. Motivation is like an unexpected visitor. Sometimes it appears but never tells you when it's coming, and you can't depend on it to build a solid life. The Stoic knows this. He understands that what truly shapes character, strength, and results is not motivation, but discipline. Because discipline is the act of doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it at all. It's waking up early even when you're sleepy, fulfilling your responsibilities even when you're not feeling up to it, and keeping up your training even when your body needs rest. And I ask you, how many times have you failed to do something important just because you didn't feel like it? If so, comment on the word now. Discipline, because recognizing that this is your weakness is the first step to turning it into your strength. The power of discipline lies in habit. It is what creates consistency, and consistency is the mother of all lasting results. When you act only when you feel like it, you are a slave to your momentary emotions. But when you act with discipline, you become master of your destiny. And this is one of the greatest Stoic lessons. Life is not built on days of euphoria, but on the sum of small acts repeated with steadfastness. Think of the greatest examples of overcoming adversity and greatness. Athletes, philosophers, leaders, sages. None of them got where they are because they woke up one day motivated. They got there because day after day, even tired, even uninspired, even facing difficulties, they kept doing what needed to be done. Discipline is like armor. It protects you against mood swings, laziness, and procrastination. And every time you choose discipline over excuses, you are building an internal fortress that no one can tear down. So tell me, have you been living more as a slave to your will or as a master of discipline? Write discipline in the comments if you understand that without it, there is no real strength, because I want to see who is ready to stop depending on luck and start depending on themselves. Now imagine what your life would be like if you truly put discipline at the center of everything. Imagine waking up knowing that, regardless of your mood, you will accomplish what you set out to do. Imagine looking back and realizing that each small action, repeated every day, built something gigantic and unshakable. This is the essence of Stoic philosophy. The Stoic doesn't wait for desire. He acts because he knows the world won't stop for him to feel inspired. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you want to be. Without it, you live on dreams. With it, you turn those dreams into reality. And make no mistake, discipline isn't rigidity without joy. It's true freedom. Because when you discipline yourself, you don't depend on chance. You don't depend on mood. You don't depend on motivation. You become your own master, master of your routine, commander of your life. So, if you understand that real strength isn't born from moments of excitement, but from constant practice, comment on the word discipline down here, because this is the seal of commitment to yourself, and I want to see who is ready to stop being hostage to fleeting desires and start building a real life. How many times have you lost sleep, eaten away at yourself, or missed Precious moments simply because you were trying to control something that was never in your control. This is a silent trap that imprisons many people, wasting energy on the uncontrollable. The weather, the behavior of others, the injustices of the world, even the past. None of these are within your control. Yet you insist on fighting these forces as if you could overcome them. And here comes one of the most powerful lessons of Stoicism. True wisdom lies in differentiating what depends on you from what doesn't. The weak waste energy trying to change what they can never control. The strong accept it and focus on what they can transform. This phrase is a real punch, but also a key that can free you from the burden you carry. So tell me, how many times have you worn yourself out over something that deep down you couldn't change? If so, comment on the word acceptance down here, because this simple gesture already shows that you are ready to see clearly where you should really place your strength. The Stoics' secret was never to become cold or indifferent, but rather realistic. They understood that life is made up of two categories: what we can control and what we can never control. And when you mix these categories, when you try to control the uncontrollable, the inevitable result is frustration, anxiety, and pain. There's no point in trying to change others' opinions of you. There's no point in trying to prevent problems from arising. There's no point in fighting fate as if you could negotiate it. But do you know what's helpful? Strengthening your mind, cultivating your discipline, choosing your attitudes and reactions to each situation, because that's within your reach. And this is where the magic happens. When you accept what you can't change, you release enormous energy that was previously wasted on useless battles, and you start investing that energy in actions that truly generate transformation. The Stoic isn't a naive dreamer. He's a strategist. He knows that fighting the tide is useless, but rowing intelligently can take you where you want to go. So I ask you, have you been the dreamer fighting the wind or the wise man adjusting the sails? Write acceptance in the comments if you've ever realized you were fighting the wrong battle. Now imagine the impact this mindset can have on your life. Think about how many times you've stressed over small, irrelevant things, or how many years you've spent holding a grudge over something you can't take back. Now, imagine if all that energy had been applied to growing, learning, strengthening yourself, and achieving what truly depends on you. This is what separates the strong from the weak. While the weak rebel against reality, the strong embrace it and build from it. Acceptance isn't giving up. It's choosing the right fight. It's recognizing that there are things you will never change, but there's also an entire universe within you that can be transformed. True power lies in taking responsibility for this and living accordingly. So if you understand that wisdom is stopping wasting your energy on the uncontrollable and using it to transform what truly matters, comment on the word acceptance down here. Because only those who accept what they cannot change are ready to become owners of what they can. Modern life constantly pushes us to seek appearances, to appear strong, to appear happy, to appear successful. But the Stoic doesn't care about appearing. He cares about being. This is the essence of the fifth lesson: living according to virtue, courage, justice, wisdom, and temperance. These four pillars support the true character of those who live not only for themselves, but for something greater. And here's a provocation. What good is having money, power, or influence if cowardice, injustice, ignorance, and excess reign within you? The glory of the Stoic isn't appearing great, it's living great. It's aligning action and character. It's doing the right thing even when no one is looking. It's having the courage to stand up when everyone else is silent. It's treating others fairly, even when it would be easier to be selfish. It's seeking wisdom in place of comfortable ignorance. It's having temperance and balance when the whole world wants to push you to extremes. So tell me, have you been living according to these values, or are you just hiding behind masks? If you believe that character is worth more than beautiful words, comment now, virtue. Because I want to see who is willing to put character above appearance. Virtue, for the Stoics, was not a vague or abstract idea. It was practical, it was attitude, it was life in motion. A courageous man is not one who does not feel fear, but one who faces fear and acts correctly. A just person is not one who talks about justice, but one who decides not to exploit others, even when it would be advantageous to do so. Wisdom is not about accumulating information, but about learning to use knowledge practically to live better. And temperance is balance, the ability to not be dominated by impulses, passions, or excesses. When you look at your own routine, do you see these pillars supporting your decisions, or do you often act contrary to what you know you should? Virtue is the guide because it is the internal compass that always points you in the right direction, even when the world tries to divert you. It doesn't matter if people applaud or criticize. When you are aligned with virtue, you are at peace with yourself. And this peace is priceless. So, if you have already realized that living according to virtue is more difficult but infinitely more valuable, write virtue in the comments to show that you are looking for this path. Now consider the impact of a life guided by virtue. A person who acts courageously doesn't become paralyzed by challenges. They move forward. A person who lives with justice builds true relationships based on trust, not self-interest. Those who seek wisdom don't get lost in empty opinions, but stand firm in truth. And those who practice temperance find balance in a chaotic world without being swept away by vices and excesses. This is the legacy of Stoicism, to form whole human beings who don't need masks because they live according to what they preach. The Stoic understands that character is the only wealth no one can steal, and that living without virtue is living empty, even surrounded by external achievements. So I ask you, do you have the courage to place virtue at the center of your life, even if it means swimming against the current? If so, comment virtue down here, because this is proof that you value true greatness, the kind you see not on stage, but in the silence of your daily choices. After all, life isn't measured by what you say, but by what you do. We've reached the end of this journey, and if you've paid attention to each lesson, you've already realized that Stoic philosophy isn't a collection of pretty phrases to post on social media, but a true life manual. The world won't stop for you, problems won't stop appearing, and people won't stop testing you. The difference is, how do you choose to respond to all of this? Unwavering self-control isn't luck, it's practice. Day after day, you need to practice discipline, virtue, focus on what depends on you, and detach from what you can't control. The Stoic isn't someone cold or emotionless. On the contrary, they feel, but they're not dragged down by what they feel. They understand that the world will test you every day in every detail, with every provocation. And the question that remains is, will you react like a slave to your emotions, or like a Stoic who masters themselves and therefore masters their own life? The conclusion to all this is simple, yet powerful. True power has never been outside. It has always been within. Power isn't in shouting louder than others, but in silencing the inner turmoil. It's not in garnering applause, but in being proud of who you are when no one is looking. It's not in seeking shortcuts, but in building, step by step, with discipline and clarity, the path that only you can follow. And now I challenge you. If life tests you tomorrow, if someone provokes you, if an unexpected problem arises, will you lose yourself in anger, fear, and anxiety? Or will you remember the Stoic lessons and respond with firmness and poise? This choice defines who you are. And if you've made it this far, I'm sure something has already changed within you. So write the word in the comments, Stoic, because that's the sign that you're not just passively watching, but are making a commitment to put this into practice. And to wrap things up, I want to ask something that goes beyond you. Share this message. If this video made sense, if it touched you, if it opened your eyes to truths we often prefer to avoid, like it, activate the bell, and send it to someone who needs to hear it right now, because you can be the channel through which This philosophy reaches someone else and completely changes their way of seeing life. The world already has too many people reacting as slaves to their emotions. What it needs are more people ready to act like Stoics. So, show that you are one of them. Like it if it made sense. Share this video and comment Stoic to show that you're ready to master yourself. Life doesn't wait. The tests have already begun. And the big question is, will you continue to be tossed from one side to the other? Or will you finally take control of the only empire that matters, your own inner self?